or you know that impacted the world, nobody entered wealth through salary. And that's why they call them civil servants. It's called civil. Don't get me wrong. There are some ambassadors that are hiding in civil service. But those who are living there for survival, they are the real civil servants. They got that name very correctly. So 5 things Jesus showed us. Number 1 is in Matthew 6:24. He said, no man can serve 2 masters. For either he will hate one and love the other, or else he will hold to one and despise the other. He said you cannot serve God and serve mammon. That means the first part into prosperity, according to Jesus' teaching, is your ability to define your loyalty. If your primary and fundamental loyalty is not to God, it means on the subject of prosperity, forget it. You may be taught, give, it shall be given unto you. You may be taught different kinds of kingdom principles, and they are correct. This is not isolated principle. This is a map that Jesus was giving in Matthew chapter 6. He said, no man can serve 2 masters. Listen to why Christians are toiling. The reason Christians are toiling is because they've not defined their loyalty. They've not stated their allegiance. There are many Christians who are still serving mammon. And the sign that you are serving mammon is not for you to go and kneel down and say, mammon, I'm worshiping you. It is your choices that reveal who your allegiance is to. And so when you find a Christian who is capable of bending to the system because he doesn't want to offend the system, or because he doesn't want to offend his boss, or because he doesn't want to suffer the consequence, that's a man who is serving mammon. You know, in the days of the SU, which was the last time there was accurate Christianity in Nigeria? Some of these heavy statements. Well, ask the fathers, they will tell you. Most of the people today that are Christians, ask them, they had contact with the SU revival. That's why this is our Christianity now, of the last 9 years, 10 years, 12 years. They are tongue speakers. Because they don't know SU. In the days of SU, they don't pride in anything other than holiness. Because they said, without it, no eye shall see God. That was the time when Christians will say, Lord, you can take the whole world and let me have you. They didn't edit it. They were that dogged. Somebody can be a secretary in the office, and then you tell him, inflate the figure. He will be offended that you had the temerity to tell him to offend the figure. He will leave that place and go into a fast. Does that mean my Christianity has not yet affected these people to know that I'm a Christian? That they are able to tell me that you tell a Christian to take bribe, you have insulted him. And the person will not be careful to answer you. Like the 3 Hebrew boys, they will tell you, oh king, we are not careful to answer you in this matter. If you like, make the fire 7 times hotter. We will not bow. In fact, they will stand up and tell you, I will not do it. I am a Christian. And if you want, do whatever you want. Terminate this job now. I'm happy to go home. Those were the days where Christians could embrace poverty if riches will stand in the way of their walk with God. Because they knew the pathway Jesus himself taught them. You could not, see, if they tell you this is a Christian, they will just go. That means that plan have spoiled. If you were planning on something before, and they tell you there's a Christian involved, you say, why? The only thing you can do for that thing to go ahead is to remove that Christian from there. And if you are bringing another person, make sure he's not a Christian. Check his name very well. If he's Oduduwa, bring him. But if he has anything like Christian, run away. Because they knew the difference between serving God and serving mammon. But a new generation emerged. And what they taught them is give, it shall be given unto you. It doesn't matter what you do. You know, when I was teaching you about prosperity, I told you there were 5 layers. Seed time and harvest is the Noahic covenant. When you enter the Abrahamic covenant, it moved from seed time and harvest. It became faith and circumcision. But seed time and harvest was not thrown away because the lesser is included in the greater. When you want to build a 5-story building, you don't destroy the foundation because you are building the 5th floor. So seed time and harvest is still there, but in addition, you have faith and circumcision. And then you enter the Mosaic covenant, where God shows you his law. So you begin to live out the laws of God. And then you enter the Davidic covenant, where it became about relationship. And then you enter the Messianic covenant, which is the combination of all, where prosperity is about love, because where a man's treasure is, that's where his heart is. Prosperity is about honor, because you honor the Lord with your substance. Prosperity is about responsibility, because my kingdom through prosperity shall be spread abroad. And prosperity is about faith in God. I don't depend on anything but you. And this is what Jesus was teaching them as the foundation of supernatural prosperity. That you come to a point where you are doggedly committed to God. Even if you have to perish for it, you are willing to do it, because money is not your God. And when Paul was teaching on this subject, Paul went further to say in 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 10, he said the love of money is the root of all evil. And so when a man loves money more than God, it's not God that will prosper him. Another spirit may prosper him. This is what Jesus taught his disciples. And that's why they were rugged and dogged. In fact, when John was teaching in 1 John, he said, chapter 3, I think from verse 1, he said, I wish above all things that thou mightest prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospered. That means the benchmark of God's prosperity to a man is the degree that that man loves and knows the Lord. God cannot allow you have more than you know him. And so Jesus was teaching them, if you want to prosper supernaturally, your allegiance to me must be superior to every other allegiance. Because you can't serve God and serve mammon. There are many people serving mammon, but they were only taught, give, it shall be given unto you. So they are adding God and mammon together. That's why even after giving the whole tithe, the whole offering, the whole seed, you still discover that they are toiling like every other person is toiling. And in order for them not to appear as if they are not grateful to God, nothing is happening, but they say, God, you have done very well. You have done so much for me. Because they are hoping that if they are saying that, God may be moved. The spirit realm is a legalistic realm. If you prosper supernaturally, all of us will know. It can't hide himself. Paul said that your profiting may be made manifest to all. But the first on the corridor is not to serve two masters. You should become so dogged that it's an insult for certain offers to be brought to you. If they know you are there, they should be afraid. So the first thing Jesus taught that makes for supernatural prosperity is a dogged loyalty and allegiance to God. The second thing Jesus taught is for you to trust him for provisions. Because it's possible for you to build your confidence on the systems. That means no matter how impeccable the system becomes, you will never find yourself trusting the system as your sustenance. Because if you do, the system will become your father. The word father in the Hebrew is the word fundus. And fundus means foundation. And the word father in the Greek is the word pater. Pater means nourisher and sustainer. So if I'm working in an oil company, for example, there are two mentalities and mindsets I will sustain. Number one is that I am not here to be sustained. I am here as an ambassador of the kingdom to represent God's interest. Because he said in Matthew 28 verse 18, go into all the world. So this is my own world. And my promotion in that oil industry will not just be in rank. It will be the degree to which I bring the influence of the kingdom there. If I'm there for 10 years, I should have raised at least 40 disciples or 40% of the people as disciples. That's the sign that I am not there depending on salary. I am there as one sent. Because if I start depending on salary, it means I'm no longer trusting God for provision. I'm now trusting the oil industry for provision. And in the spirit realm, the oil industry becomes my father. Because that's my foundation. The oil industry becomes my sustainer. And so Jesus was teaching. You now see that prosperity does not begin with activities. Prosperity begins, number one, with nature, state. And then prosperity also begins with consciousness. This is why many people do a lot of activity, they don't prosper. Because the activity is right, but the heart posture is wrong and the consciousness is wrong. In 2 Chronicles 25 verse 2, it said, Amaziah did all that was right in the heights of God, but not with a perfect heart. So if your state is wrong, God can't prosper you. And if your consciousness is also wrong, God cannot prosper you. So the first two things Jesus was teaching about prosperity has nothing to do with activity yet. It had everything to do with what? Consciousness and state. Now, if your trust is in God, the second way you will prove it, apart from consciousness now, is that your life will be committed to doing the instructions and the ordinances of God. So the reason you give offerings is not just because you want to honor God, but your giving of offering is also, in addition to honoring God, a testimony that God is your sustainer. And so even when you don't have so much, you will still give. When you have so much, you will still give. Because you don't give because you have. You give because you trust. But when you find people who give because they were religiously programmed to give, it's when they have, they give. When they feel what they have is going down, they begin to save. Because the system of the world is save or invest to prosper. But the system of the kingdom is give to prosper. But for you to do what God said, whether you are bound or abased, will be a product of your trust in God as your source. And so Jesus is saying the second key to prosperity is to trust God for your provision. And when you trust God for your provision, He surpasses your expectation. Because God is a multiplier. In 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 to verse 8, Paul the apostle was teaching. And he said, but this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall also reap bountifully. He said, every man according as he had purposed in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly, nor of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. Now, a man who believes in God as a source, these are the four things, four dispositions he sustains when he's giving. Number one, he purposes in his heart to give. He doesn't give because a preacher preached a message. Before he came from home, what he has already prepared to come and give. Because he's not giving because he has. He gives because he trusts, and because he trusts, he will keep having. And so his giving is not instantaneous. His giving is deliberate because he knows I'm going back to my source. And so I will not be afraid of giving. So Paul said, number one, he